Adventure gear by Climb, because sometimes you have to learn things the hard way.
For some reason, we're fascinated by the thought of the most. It's a measure of the extreme in already extraordinary circumstances. This person, the most gold medals. That person, the most home runs. Some other person, the most whatever, you name it. There's just something to be said about the most. The Paris Dakar, or the Dakar Rally, or simply known by most, the Dakar, is without a doubt the most dangerous race in the world. I don't hear anyone disputing that. Overall, since its creation some 30 years ago, 27 competitors have met their fate at the Dakar. Racers fighting for glory in an all-out tooth and nail route through Mother Nature's death trap, the deserts of North Africa. It's an amazing achievement all on its own, just to cross the finish line with a beating pulse. Now, historically, the race's route has gone from Paris, France to Dakar, Senegal, but the route has changed a few times over the years. Paris, Cairo, Dakar, Paris, Tunis, Dakar, Paris, Tripoli, Dakar. You get the picture. See why it's so dangerous? And if that wasn't enough, in 2008, the race itself was canceled because Al-Qaeda had captured and killed 4 French tourists in Mauritania, which is right in the center of the race's route. Since then, the race has moved to South America. It's totally changed out of the Middle East, but it's still just as dangerous. Now, me personally, I don't have any plans to ever race in the Dakar. I still have too many things to do, like this Ride of My Life series and catching up on the Game of Thrones. Now, I'm very curious about this Dakar rally, but me as a rider, I'm not ready to actually compete in the damn thing. Perhaps what I need right now is to work on my skills as a rider. Perhaps just a taste of Dakar is what I need.
My name's Brad Barker, and I don't have a regular 9-to-5 job. About 7 years ago, I started a company called the Halo Corporation. The Halo Corporation just completed the largest multi-jurisdictional counterterrorism summit right here in San Diego. So after the summit, I was left thinking, where's all the good news? So I made a commitment to myself. I'm gonna find it. I've got an amazing network, I've got an amazing support group, and they have outfitted me with the tools to support my quest. And I've chosen the BMW GS 1200 as my vehicle. I'm going on this ride to prove that the heart of history's greatest explorers and adventurers is alive and well today. Join me on the ride of my life.
Fresh out of the Rawhide Training Academy and back on the road, the Ride of My Life series rolls on. But all I can think about is more training. Is there something wrong with me? When living this nomadic lifestyle and searching for adventure, you have to be ready to jump willingly into the unknown. I have to admit, it's a little easier said than done sometimes. But if you can be a little bit like that feather blowing around in the beginning of that Forrest Gump movie, you find yourself being invited to go on one adventure after another. Come to think of it, that might have been some symbolism or hidden meaning there with that feather in the beginning of the movie, who knows? And that's how this adventure came to life. And what was ahead of me was not just the invitation to take my riding skills to the next level, but as a way to see how I would handle it when real life shows up on the trail and smacks you in the teeth like a freaking monkey wrench when real, legitimate danger shows up. Now let me rewind just a little bit. I met Kurt from Black Dog in Idaho. He builds out my GS impeccably, and he tells me I better go learn how to ride it. I meet Jim Hyde, I learn how to ride these heavy bikes by going through his course, and then we go on Expedition CV to tie it all together. While on the CV adventure, around many campfires, I got to know this guy named Jeremy Lebreton. Now, this guy can ride the shit out of a bike. This is a real interesting dude. He's kind of got that whole back east tough guy attitude. Now, at the time, I had no clue who Jeremy Lebreton was. I just knew he was this guy kicking ass on the route. I mean, he has some serious riding chops. So it turns out that Jeremy is actually the president and CEO of Altrider. And in case you don't know, Altrider makes accessories and hard parts and travel bags for this adventure touring phenomenon. So when Rawhide was over, Jeremy said, "Why don't you come to Taste of Dakar?" And I was like, "What the hell is Taste of Dakar?" Jeremy told me all about how he and a bunch of his friends always wanted to experience the Dakar Rally, like the real Dakar. But they weren't too stoked on the whole I might die thing. So he created Taste of Dakar. The Taste of Dakar is a 3-day event consisting of 2 training opportunities centered around a Dakar-style rally. And this is all set in a special place fitting of such a name, where the sand and dust flow like wine and the elements are out to kick your ass. A place not too unlike the deserts of North Africa. I'm talking about Death Valley. So I mentioned earlier, there's this training component to the event. So Jeremy told me that to capture the true essence of the Dakar experience, you need to do something special. So he teamed up with Dakar legend, Jimmy Lewis. That's because Jimmy Lewis is one of the only Americans ever to podium finish at the Dakar when the Dakar was in Senegal. And that's just one of the feathers in his cap. Now, Jimmy has been winning motorcycle races since AM radio was cool. He's established himself globally as a dominating force on the sand, rock, and dust. Training with Jimmy Lewis is like getting a specialization, like going to get your master's degree in a specific discipline, and that is extreme endurance racing. So then Jeremy said to me, "This Taste of Dakar event is not for everyone. So if you think it's too dangerous, then no worries." When Jeremy said that, the gauntlet was dropped.
I accept.
And when I got home, I couldn't pack fast enough. Taste of Dakar, my name's Brad Barker. Nice to meet you. Somebody is getting their ass kicked. So we're going to Pahrump, Nevada, which is the location that Jimmy Lewis has chosen because that desert wasteland, it just mimics the deserts of North Africa. It's as close as you're gonna get to Dakar, still in the United States. And typically when you think of the desert outside of Las Vegas, you're thinking sun, dry. It was exactly the opposite. Huge thunderheads coming in, black and blue clouds, lightning striking, and you could see just a wall of rain. On one side, totally sunny. On the other side, it looks like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are gonna emerge through the clouds and just fuck your happiness up. We were going into what looked like a twister season. It was pretty scary. You never saw more riders, more tuned into the barometric pressure than on the day we arrived at Taste of Dakar. Now, I had just gotten comfortable with riding the bike in sand that was dry. I hadn't ridden in wet sand before, but I was thinking it was kind of like the beach. The more rain, then the less dust, the more hard packed it would be, and it would be to our advantage. And being that this is a very advanced training, I figured, thank the gods, I have been gifted some rain so I can get some traction and these tires can bite into the dirt and I can actually control this thing. So we roll in, we find the place, we realize where we're gonna be living for the next 4 days. And it was really good because everybody kind of staggers their arrivals. You know, everybody's coming from all over the world to come train with Jimmy, and it was good to see some old friends. You know, Fonzi is one of my favorite people. He's one of the best motorcycle photographers in the business. He works for everybody. If you want a beautiful shot of motorcycles, get it from Fonzi. He's a shit hot rider, great photographer, and he really understands the spirit of adventure motorcycling. And you know, when we saw him pull up, I was like, all right, this is gonna be a good time. So, you know, everybody's into drones now. We got a couple of those, so I wanted to check it out and see what was going on, because we put the drone up in the air. Of course, we can see the campsite and all these bikes, and it really looks cool. But just off to the north, we could see snow-capped. It looked like someone sprinkled sugar on the top of a chocolate ice cream cone. And I knew we were going to be summiting that pass, and I knew it was going to be cold up there. So, got the climb gear out. I knew we'd be good. If you want to look like you work for Climb, wear a Climb shirt given to us by Climb. So we wake up Friday. Of course, it feels like Christmas morning. We got butterflies. We're gonna go meet Jimmy Lewis. So Jimmy's got a place in Pahrump, and in his backyard, he's got this yurt structure, which is this sort of a garage structure with just a few walls, so you can ride your bikes through it, get out of the rain if you want to, get out of the sun if you want to, and it's a good place to just set up some chairs, and it becomes an instant classroom. Some people are learning how to change tires over here. Some people are learning safety drills over here. Some people are learning the routes and signing in over here. It was a well-oiled machine. So the first person I met was Heather, his wife.
Nice to meet you. You're Heather.
Yep.
Pleasure.
Yep.
Heather was Jimmy's high school sweetheart. Heather really handles all of the minutia so that Jimmy can be Jimmy. He's an athlete. He's a competitive athlete in one of the most dangerous sports in the history of history. And Heather gets that. And she handles very adequately all of the BS and all of the administrative tasks so that Jimmy doesn't have to deal and clog his brain with all that kind of stuff so that he can just be Jimmy.
If I tell you not to do something, it's because there's a reason for it. Everybody understand that?
Yes.
Yes. Good, thank you. Okay, so that kind of concludes the safety portion of the class. Now we'll go into the craziness of riding big bikes off-road.
Yeah, I'm just a little nervous anticipation right now to go not only meet but train with Jimmy Lewis, because he's gonna be like, "What are you doing in my class? We don't do intro." And but that's what I was thinking. But when I finally met him, we did the safety briefing, and he started with the basics to establish a level playing field, so everybody's approaching his techniques all from the same level.
You always have to respect the bike and what it's capable of doing, but at the same time know your skill level. The biggest thing we see as skill level increases is that riders actually slow down and become more in control. It's not that you don't know what you want to do, it's that your body can't do it.
Because everybody's coming from all over the world. They're coming from different backgrounds, different levels of riding prowess. Some new, like me, some Dakar racers, all in the same class, learning throttle and clutch.
The minute people get on their motorcycle, they grab onto this, then they start, this is it. This is how they're going to control their bike, and it's wrong. The way to control your bike is through the foot pegs. All the control you need in this motorcycle is down here. This is just a great place to put the
One of the
controls,
main
the
things
throttle,
that you
clutch,
learn
brakes.
at Jimmy Lewis's class is simply balance. Balance is the key to everything he teaches. If you've got that foundation, all of Jimmy's training builds on that. Not on a house of cards, but rock solid granite. With one finger, he's doing Aikido moves, Cirque du Soleil moves on top of the bike. No kickstand, no center stand, just his finger and his own body weight. I've never seen anybody more tuned in to his body weight on two pegs than Jimmy Lewis. What Jimmy's doing is he's taken a whole bunch of very capable riders and he's identified all of our bad habits. And the way he's done that is by showing us that none of us can balance on the bike. If the bike's not moving, you have no balance. A lot of us have been relying on those bad habits of momentum and inertia as a crutch. So what Jimmy's done is he's taken our crutch away and said, okay, so you think you can walk? You actually can't. So taking these components down and breaking them down to their common denominator is what's happening. And eventually I think he's gonna tie it all together and we're gonna see what we learned. You ever see these, you go to the gym and you see these balance boards. It's like a wooden dowel with a board across it, and you step on it with either foot, and it's trying to slide. It's like a surfboard drill, core abdominal strength drill. That's the first thing that Jimmy and his head instructors had us do, is get onto this physics most unstable surface, which is a ball or a cylinder, and then put a flat board on a round surface. You try to stand on it and you're gonna eat shit as soon as you try. So as soon as you find that little balance, then he starts to teach you, and then eventually you're gonna transfer that new skill onto foot pegs, because that round dowel represents the tires. That board represents your balance of your feet and your weight distribution onto foot pegs. A couple guys were like, why are we doing this? And it felt a little bit like Daniel's son going, why you got me painting the fence, waxing the car? And then he tied it all in as soon as we got on the bikes. As soon as we thought we were balanced, we found out that the bikes really want to go sideways as fast as they can. And he coaxed us through this, and he and Heather both walked around to make sure that anybody who needed any special attention was getting it. Eventually you're stepping on the ground where you're totally stable like you would at a stoplight, and then you're one leg on the peg, next leg on the peg, and standing up. You're totally not moving. The bike's trying to roll down. Your stability comes when the tires are rolling and you actually have some momentum and inertia. When you're actually more or less parked, and then you get on the pegs, you're trying to get up there for a 3 count, maybe a 4 count. Seen Jimmy go much higher than that. I stopped looking when he was over 5. Totally balancing on a bike, not even moving, 5 seconds. Give that a try. And these basic fundamental drills that he breaks down and isolates, and then he brings them all together when you have to actually climb on the bike, holding the handlebars and get that thing to balance. Bike 1, Brad 0. Okay, so we're back up?
Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
Yep.
We left Jimmy's place and then we went out to go try some very advanced moves out on a dry lake bed outside of Pahrump, Nevada. Huge expanse of just dry lake bed that looks like the lake beds of the Serengeti. It's just sun-baked, cracked, all the moisture has evaporated, and you can just go for miles. So class began with a bunch of really cool drills. My favorite was locking the front brake so that your front tire is completely locked, and then goosing the throttle slowly so that your back tire is pushing your bike forward while your front tire is trying to make your bike stop. So eventually what happens is your front tire ends up bulldozing the dirt in front of you, and you feel what it's like to lose control of your front tire. Now, having your front tire wash out is a motorcyclist's worst nightmare, because if your front tire washes out, you have zero control. You can't steer the bike. You can't avoid other riders. You can't avoid obstacles. One of the first lessons he teaches us is how to address our deepest fear. So what we do is we learn what it's like to have zero control of the bike and then regain control of the bike while the front tire is still locked up. So once you learn that what was previously thought to be impossible is now not only possible, you can now throw that into your bag of tricks and call it a technique. So now we know how to recover from a front tire washout. We had about a 100-yard stretch, and there's an instructor on the far side, and they are telling you what to do in real time to simulate an unplanned event. So you're getting up to speed as fast as you're comfortable, and then they give you a signal to completely lock it up. Front tire, rear tire. So your whole bike is sliding, and you don't know what the instructor's gonna do. Maybe he's gonna make you lock him up 10 times between you and him. Maybe he's not gonna make you do it at all. You just have to be ready. So it increases your situational awareness, you're paying attention, you are learning how to lock your bike up, both front and rear, and you're learning how to recover from skids. One of the techniques is cruising along at a comfortable speed, locking up the rear tire, and moving the bars to get your back tire to whip around, and then using your clutch and throttle to regain control. Very cool technique. If you happen to be inadvertently find yourself in a power slide, you have to be able to control your bike. Because when you think about it, you've got about a silver dollar sized contact on your front and rear tire, and that's the only thing between you and terra firma. You don't want to lose any control of the bike, or you're going to be a uncontrolled land missile. And just when we started to get in our groove, Mother Nature threw a curveball at us. The clouds rolled in, and the sky opened up, and golf ball sized raindrops just saturated that lake bed. So what happens is that the rain comes down, and remember, this is a dry lake bed. So this is all right under the dust and silt and pumice that is from years of just very fine talc blowing on it. Well, this lake bed remembers the fact that it used to be a lake bed, so it traps water. So all this clay comes to the surface And knobby tires and heavy bikes, no way. I've never ridden on a more slick. I don't know that ice is more slick than this stuff that they were calling chocolate cake. Imagine riding your motorcycle across the icing of a birthday cake. It's just, you turn, nothing's gonna happen. And I started to eat shit. I put my legs out as I was cruising like outriggers, just so I wouldn't dump. And I'm looking around me, and I counted no less than a dozen sideways adventure bikes. You can't ride in that. The mud was caking in all of the knobbies. It was going into all of the spokes, all the way to the brake disc. It was just caking on. It wouldn't come off. And we're trying to roll out of the lake bed to get out of trouble. And all of a sudden these things just looked like big snowcat tires, and it was such a mess. No one got hurt, but you couldn't even really pick up your bike by yourself because your foot would slip out from under you. You walk with your boots on, and every step you take, you grab an inch of mud, and then you take another step, and the mud doesn't fall off on your next step. Another inch gets added. And the same thing is happening to your tires. Mud caked up all the way to the fenders, in the drivetrain. One bike got so caked with mud that it actually snapped the front brake cable. So there had to be some instant trail maintenance on this poor guy's bike. And you know, he eventually limped home, but man, oh man, it was tough. And everybody's leaving the lake bed. We were gonna go to Pahrump, Nevada's best pizza joint. And as soon as we get to the pavement, you know, everyone's just throwing mud everywhere because it's coming out of the knobbies. And of course, on our right-hand side, the world famous chicken ranch. There's nothing like passing a couple, 3 whorehouses on your way to the best pizza in Pahrump. Legalized prostitution, only in America. We're only halfway through day 1. We can't go to the lake bed anymore. That is just absolutely treacherous. People very easily could get hurt out there, very much in the style of the real Dakar. So Jimmy pulls an executive decision, and he's got a really good plan B. There's a really cool rock quarry not too far on the other side of the lake bed, which is all decomposed granite. So as the rain comes down, it hits all this DG, and the water just seeps down into terra firma, and you don't even get wet. There's a couple puddles here and there, but you have full traction. It's just like gravel. And there we're able to continue our drills. You know, a very common mistake to a new rider of adventure bikes is you see a hill that you think you got, and you don't got it because you just ran out of talent. And now you find yourself with a big ass heavy bike, you're halfway up a hill, you can't turn around, you can't go up because your tire's spinning, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna die here. So he taught us how to get out of that situation very easily. And I looked at it, and I felt like I was having a V8 moment. I watched him do it, and I went, of course. And just taking that front tire, just sneaking it down to the side so that you can at least get your uphill foot on firm ground, and then you can just point your bike down and go back down the hill and either go another way or try again. But a lot of people, especially new riders, when they see a hill and from a distance they're like, oh yeah, I can do that. And then they actually get on the hill and the bike starts talking to you and you lose traction and your front tire's slipping, your back tire's slipping, and you're still not even a quarter of the way up. And mentally they psych themselves out. So they stop or slow down. You need momentum to get up this hill. So when you have that butt pucker, oh shit moment, you actually do yourself a disservice by slowing down. You really just gotta use that throttle and just get through it. Jimmy Lewis is clearly from another planet because the laws of gravity do not apply to him in the way that they do to normal humans. I think he's probably the last son of Krypton, and he was just downplaying.
There's very few Americans that have ever been to the Dakar when it was in Senegal, the real Dakar. And here he is in Pahrump, Nevada. He's got his own playground where he can give you a taste of Dakar as only he can serve it up. Jimmy Lewis, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Bam.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone operate one of these bikes the way he does.
So now we're doing some drills. We're reviewing a lot of the things that Jimmy taught us this morning. And we're now linking all of these techniques together out here with a heck of a lot less potential risk or consequences. So back to the decomposed granite.
finally got back to camp. And literally, you couldn't have jumped in a swimming pool and been any less wet than we were when we finally got back. I mean, all the way down to your underwear, we're just wringing it out. We're soaking wet. Now remember, this was just the Jimmy Lewis class. Not everybody went to the Jimmy Lewis class. Most of the people were here for the Dakar Rally, which didn't start until the next day. All the students are having a great time, and the new folks that are showing up just for the rally start arriving, and they look at us, and we just look like a bunch of drowned rats that had been, you know, ridden hard and put away wet. And it was just a really, really cool vibe to welcome the new victims in and really meet people and talk about which one of the routes they were going to do the next day. It's a staggered departure. So you got your group and you're either doing the beginner route, the intermediate route, or the expert route. So I'm all set to do the scenic beginner route because, you know, this is the Dakar. This is a taste of Dakar. I have no business being in intermediate or expert. That's a little above my pay grade. So I'm ready to go, and I'm trying to find the guys that I'm going to go with, and we make a plan to do so. Jeremy had a different plan because I had a camera crew with me. He wants me on the expert route with him. So I reluctantly accepted yet again. I get coerced into biting off a little bit more than I can chew to go on the expert route of the Taste of Dakar Rally, which if you look at my motorcycle resume, that's not a place where I should have been.
Everybody pay attention. We're gonna move at a pretty good clip because we're a good hour behind everybody, and I don't want to miss lunch.
Fonzi's motorcycle media, so he's covering this event from a journalistic perspective. So he's in my group. Jeremy, the host of the Dakar Rally's in my group. My camera guys are in the group. Both Chris Story, the legend, who rides circles around me on his GS so he can catch my slip-ups from every angle. And then we've got a chase vehicle, and we make a plan on how we're going to go on our route. And Chris is going to capture that for me, Fonzi, and Jeremy, and then the chase vehicle is going to intersect in all the places where he can get the cool hero shots of the rally. So we got a plan.
But we'll make sure we communicate. So we'll, you know, before you guys bail out, we want to know you bailed out.
Cool.
The problem is, we never even got a chance to even start executing our plan because shit happened. Where to begin? We lost Chris, we lost the camera crew, we lost each other. The wheels completely fell off. Well, it was timed perfectly so we'd be able to intersect, and we had it all marked down on when we were gonna meet, and if we got there first, we'd wait. If they got there first, they'd set up cameras and watch us arrive. The problem was we were significantly delayed by some accidents. This was no easy course. This was the expert course at the Taste of Dakar Rally. And unfortunately, my very good friend and photographer, Fonzi, was on Jeremy's wife's dual sport. Beautiful bike, brand new. And somehow Fonzi lost control of the front wheel, front tire washout, and separated from his bike in an unplanned dismount. Absolutely decimated the bike. Fonzi went over the bars and flew, no exaggeration, 30 feet.
What hurts?
My thumb.
Your thumb?
Yeah.
This was the worst off-road motorcycle collision I've ever seen.
This one, two.
Thankfully, his backpack took all the beating because the camera gear itself was fine. Fonzi was fine.
That's the back. Yeah, this qualifies as a true yard sale. As we exploit you. That's a big rock. You hit it right here. Yep, we've got some carnage. We got some airplane wreckage. Wasted.
But unfortunately, the bike couldn't make it home and had to be trucked back to the rally.
Okay, so the first thing is that Fonzi's okay. The second thing is he's sorry. The third thing is I hope your wife didn't like the color of that bike. It was about the worst crash on a motorcycle I've seen. The bike's done. They're probably 6 miles back.
Oh, dude! The bike's got like fucking not even 2,000 miles on it.
This was on the first leg of the rally before lunch. Jeremy had an obligation to his other clients at Taste of Dakar to make sure that this thing continued on. That was the plan. It never happened. Somewhere on the route where the camera crew was trying to find our team, they saw some dressed up mannequin, life-size edifice of a man with a hangman's noose hanging from a tree in somebody's front yard. Really bizarre sort of mock lynching, which I didn't understand. They didn't understand it. That kind of freaked them out a little bit and kind of set them off on a weird little trip that was some kind of harbinger, some kind of bad omen. I mean, it was just a really trippy thing to see. After they got freaked out by the lynching dummy, they were cruising along trying to find out where we were. We hadn't gotten to our first checkpoint yet, and they were supposed to meet us at the checkpoint. So they were under the impression that we had passed them. That was the only conclusion they could have come to, because they anticipated that we were moving much faster. They had no idea that we had had a significant accident and were easily an hour behind. So they went on to the next location, and to eat up time, they deviated from the off-road course that we had agreed on and went to the freeway to try to just flank us. Along the road, they had come across another accident. This was an automobile accident, and they saw a car completely engulfed in flames. So they pulled over to see if they could lend a hand, because Ken, one of our cameramen, he's a retired firefighter. So he sees a fire, and he goes right into search and rescue mode to make sure that everybody's okay.
I don't know where the fire department was coming from, but we notified them.
So Ken gets out of the car, and there's an elderly couple just off to the side, quite a distance away from the fire. So he tries to get some information from them on what had happened, and they said, look out. There's a bunch of live ammunition in that car, and the fire is so hot, every now and then bullets are flying through the air. Everybody's dialing 911, fire's coming, sheriff's coming, cops coming, helicopters are coming. And these guys saw this as another bad sign and said, okay, this is being adequately addressed by cops and fire. Enough people have dialed 911. We're getting the hell out of here and trying to get back on course, because at this point, they're worried about us.
All right, we gotta go to our next destination.
Let's do it.
All right, have a good day.
So meanwhile, while they're dealing with live ammo flying through the air from the senior citizens who had somehow lit their car on fire, we are making good time on the rally. We're finally getting into the groove. We're jamming away. We're at the Taste of Dakar. I'm on the expert route. I'm not dead yet. I'm learning as I go. Jeremy's taking the time to wait for me from time to time on areas where I'm getting challenged, and he's teaching me how to get through it. And then we see up ahead on a long straightaway a group of easily a dozen riders. And we're on a thin single track trail. We're not at a stopping point. This is not a checkpoint. And I can see in the distance that these guys had essentially been there for some time, because they have their helmets off. Some of them have their jackets off. So we roll up going, what's up? Unfortunately, there's another accident. And there's another guy who I don't know, who had hit something somehow, flown over the handlebars, and he had landed directly on his spine on a boulder and couldn't feel his legs. A couple of the riders that were with him, one was an ER trauma doctor, the other was with search and rescue, and they were just They were just contestants in the Taste of Dakar. So they're trying to stabilize him. They're calling 911. They're talking to the 911 dispatcher and talking to search and rescue in that area. You've got at least a dozen riders with some of the most advanced GPS tracking systems, roll charts, satellite navigation, a dozen guys that could pinpoint us where we are on planet Earth, and we're trying to give them directions on where to get a life flight helicopter to help this poor guy who may be paralyzed. Guys are starting to panic. Heart rates are up. You got that weird Good Samaritan thing. Do we move him? Do we leave him still? You know, because you always hear the stories of they tried to move him and it's a back injury and you could do more harm than good. So everybody's kind of stymied there. And then, out of nowhere, right up behind us, here comes our camera crew in that four-wheel drive Suburban.
All right, so we're on the ride of my life, and when you're on rides like this, you have smooth rides, you have bumpy rides. Well, we're on a bumpy road right now because we are going to go collect a biker that's down. So we're a band of brothers out here. When something happens, we do what we can to help each other. Well, right now, someone has taken a bad spill here in Sycamore Lake because of the gypsum super soft up on top, and he took a spill about 50 miles per hour. So right now I'm chasing a motorcycle to go get this guy and get him to a hospital as soon as possible.
So we clear out all the camera gear, make a place for him, and they gurney him into the back of the Suburban, and they take off to Las Vegas Metro Hospital.
When you whack your chest and you break a rib, your lung can either collapse or fill up with blood.
Keep going, it goes right to the road.
This is our second major accident at Taste of Dakar, and I'm sitting there getting a splash of reality that this is not a game, this is not a friendly ride with my friends, this is not some scenic sightseeing tour to capture beautiful pictures with my camera crew. And the Dakar is one of the most deadly races in the world. And this is just a taste of Dakar, and we've had 2 serious accidents. This is serious stuff, and you do not want to do routes like this by yourself because you might not make it home. We're hours behind schedule. There's many people that have finished the rally, and we are still in the middle of nowhere, having made sure that this guy makes it safely to the hospital. So, for all intent and purposes, from our perspective, the rally's over. Now it's just a matter of, we got to survive. We got to get home. The sun is going down. The weather is sketchy. Thunder and lightning, like a Hollywood movie, is foreboding in the background. And it's time to get home and let everybody know that we're okay. Because word is spreading that there's been some carnage and there's been multiple concussions, potentially serious back injury, and multiple guys have gone to the hospital. So in a perfect world, we finish this rally and have a great time, and there's this post-rally banquet that's waiting for us. So we roll in late. Everybody's, of course, glad to see Jeremy, and so we have a guest speaker, a guy by the name of Chris Blais. Ironically, this whole thing ties together. Chris Blais was racing, training, Dakar, Baja veteran, and he had a significant injury, injured his back, and is now paralyzed from the waist down. So we're seeing all this trauma on the trail, and then our keynote speaker is addressing us from a wheelchair. And now I'm just like, what have I gotten myself into? Not only am I seeing people eat shit on the trail that are my friends, and even people I don't know that are whisked off to the hospital, but here's our keynote speaker, an absolutely blessed rider. I mean, seriously talented young man on a bike, and even he got a serious back injury and has changed his life demonstrably forever. For him, his wife, his family. And so you have to take pause and just acknowledge and have a safe respect for what it is that Dakar is, for real. And just because this is Taste of Dakar makes it no less dangerous. This needs to be applied to any ride that you do. So the training that we got from Jimmy Lewis on what to do if was very significant. The things that we learned for real at Taste of Dakar during the rally, life-changing. You have to have your eyes open. You have to have situational awareness of not only you, but your buddies. And you cannot ride your bike beyond your ability, because you might not make it back. Because you don't know about the guy you're riding with. You don't know about what Mother Nature has. You don't know what might be around the corner of rides you don't know. And you might have a map and the tracks in your GPS, but you've never done these roads before. Slow the hell down. Take your time. It's not a race. It's a social rally. Because if you take it too seriously and you run out of talent, you could really hurt yourself, and then you become the responsibility of those that you're riding with, and then you become a liability to them. And then you wreck their day, and something could happen to them while they're trying to help you. This, as Jeremy said in the very beginning when he was coaxing me to come into it, this is not for everyone, and I see why. I believe Kurt Caselli considered Jimmy Lewis a mentor. He was also a compatriot of Chris Blais, who was our keynote speaker at Taste of Dakar. While training for this amazing sport that he was arguably the best at, he got into a very bad accident and died right there on the race course.
You know what, Kurt was the guy, he was gonna, for sure, he was gonna win the Dakar Rally for the Americans. He had so much talent and just the ability to control himself and the bike and everything that he did. Like I said, he was awesome with our team. He spent a lot of time, and that dude was the man. With everything he did, I mean, he knew his heart rate every morning when he woke up and how his day was gonna go because of it. Just super into his body and his mind, and he looked like he was just the invincible man, for sure. He almost never made a mistake, but things just happen, you know? Things just happen and they're out of your control. Doesn't matter how good you are. Kurt was gonna be the next guy, and you know, his time got cut short by something that happens all the time. You know, he got unlucky that one time.
Well, he was a very popular guy. He was a very talented racer. And of course, ripples went through that community hugely. This specific element of motorcycle riding is very extreme. It's a pretty elite fraternity. When we lost Kurt Caselli, everybody was in mourning, from endurance adventure riders all the way to GP racers. They all acknowledge Kurt Caselli as an incredibly blessed rider and had done tremendous things for the sport. Was a great role model. He wasn't a party guy and creating a stain on the reputation of what it is that these guys do. He was a true gentleman. Kurt's family and his very close friends created the Kurt Caselli Foundation, which raises money for riders who want to go to college. It allows them to subsidize, if not pay in full, some of their tuition to qualified recipients of the Kurt Caselli Foundation grant. You know, I've been really focused on training. Who are these motorcycle mentors? Who can I learn from? Who can I go ride with? Who knows the most about gear? Who knows the most about motorcycle maintenance? Who knows the greatest places to ride? And I've just been trying to be a sponge so that I can really be confident and have all the tools and be well equipped to continue this ride of my life that I'm so stoked and so lucky to be doing. And sometimes when you're super focused on, goal oriented, where's the prize, where's the bullseye, you can lose the actual story that is emerging before your eyes because you're too focused on telling the story. You're not listening to the story that's being told to you. Here at Taste of Dakar, getting a chance to hang out with Jeremy and Jimmy and Jimmy's wife Heather, Death Valley is a foreboding desert. But we found this trip that sometimes flowers grow in the desert. And the story of Heather and Jimmy as people is one of the most romantic love stories I think I've ever heard that wasn't on the silver screen. Not to completely cheese out. I mean, Jimmy's a tough guy, and I do believe that he scares Chuck Norris. You know, how he and Heather connected is a really touching romance.
He gave me stickers at a trophy presentation, and he said, "Hey, little girl, here's some stickers." I still have the sticker to this day.
No way.
Because there was a cool MSR sticker with the bubbly letters and the cool pink colors, and you know, it's cute. So I kept the sticker, but I didn't like boys at the time. I only liked motorcycles at the time.
You wanted to throw rocks at them.
Yeah, so I didn't really meet him again until we started hanging out when I was 15. And so I've been with Jimmy since I was 15. And I didn't really learn to ride until I met Jimmy. So I knew how to get on a bike and start it, kick it, and ride, and then talk my way back to camp.
And run it out of gas.
Yeah, and run it out of gas. But I didn't really know how to ride until after every race, he would take me, after he just finished first and stuff like that, he would take me riding. And he would always put me on his, like, you know, extra bike. So he had a 125. So he'd put me on that, and then we'd go trail riding after the races. So that's where I learned.
There's a beautiful common thread that is tying all of this tough guy adventure, foreboding, death, and gloom and doom. There's a true man and woman romance going on here with Jimmy and Heather, and it's really cool to watch, and I'm stoked that I got a chance to meet those two. My takeaway from Taste of Dakar is you don't live long enough to make all these mistakes yourself. You got to learn from the mistakes of others. So even though there were some hiccups along the way at this event, there's hiccups in life, and you have to roll with the punches. And Jeremy has been very kind to us, showing us what to do, what not to do, where are the minefields, where are the banana peels that you can slip on. And he's been a very gracious guy to me, who is, you know, I'm the neophyte, I'm the newbie here. He's the quarterback of the football team, and he's let me sit at the cool guy table. I owe Jeremy a debt of gratitude there, and he really opened my eyes that this is not, you know, we're not playing golf here. This isn't badminton. Okay, this is adventure motorcycles, and you have to identify it for the sport that it is, because there are consequences, and they are dire. And we learned them firsthand at Taste of Dakar. I'm not going to miss an event that Altrider puts on. These guys know what they're doing.
Well, that's the episode. Thanks so much for joining me on The Ride of My Life. Do me a favor, click the subscribe tab below so you can follow us and you won't miss any more episodes. And if you'd like to hear the podcast version of this, you can go to our podcast page on iTunes, where we have The Ride of My Life there, and you can listen to some bonus tracks there as well. You can reach us at brad@therideofmylife.net and let us know what you think, where you'd like us to feature, if you'd like to come with us, or give us some advice. We'd really like to hear what you have to say. Thanks so much.
Pretty tired. I think I'll go home now.
Passion, drive, determination. These qualities are earned by pushing oneself beyond their limits. Nothing embodies this belief more than the Dakar Rally. Created over 30 years ago, it's without a doubt the most dangerous race in the world. 14 days of all-out racing through some of the most treacherous terrain known to man. Like many riders, I have always wanted to experience the Dakar Rally. Since most of us can't experience the real thing, that's why we at Altrider created Taste of Dakar. Our company, Altrider, designs adventure touring accessories and luggage, but we also believe in supporting the riding community by creating 3-day adventure rides. Taste of Dakar is set in the place that resembles the conditions of Dakar. Death Valley. Sand, mountains, rocks, wind, and even rain. makes this the perfect environment. But to capture the true essence of the Dakar Rally, we needed something special. And that is exactly why I've teamed up with this man right here. Someone who's experienced the Dakar and lived to tell about it. The one and only Jimmy Lewis. Jimmy is one of the few Americans to ever podium finish at Dakar. Every year at Taste of Dakar, Jimmy creates a hands-on instructional course that teaches invaluable expert tips and tricks for adventure riders of all levels.
Biggest takeaway, I think, total overall, was the companionship and the friends that I've met and new friends.
It's just really great being able to ride with my dad coming out here.
You can see how it's evolved over the few years, but it's true to its core, and it's about the people in the community and just bringing a bunch of like-minded people who just love to do what we do. It's just an awesome vision that he had to kind of say, hey, this is a great opportunity, and now it's kind of taken on a life of its own as it's evolved.
For me, you know, it's coming out and riding big bikes with my buddies, you know. Floated around, found some different groups yesterday, did some of the different trails. You know, there was also some good challenging hill climbs and turns and the sand dunes. It was all good riding.
At Altrider, we are committed to creating the highest quality parts to protect your adventure bike. But we also believe in creating and supporting events like Taste of Dakar to allow the ADV community to join together to embody the spirit of camaraderie and adventure. Visit altrider.com to learn about our 3 adventures. And come ride with us.